It is Alex from Circus of Power. Welcome to the Rainbow.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
I just came for the pizza, bro. I gotta be
Go,
very
man.
honest with you.
The pizza and the drinks, you know. And you heard that Lemmy's getting a statue here next week, right?
I didn't know that, but
I believe they're going to put it at the end of the bar where you always found.
You know
Lemmy.
what? I think I might know the dude that made it. I work for a set builder, a fabrication place, and I know they were up for the bidding. Maybe they did it, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But when that job bid came in, I was like, yeah, do it, man, do it. If you have to do it for free, do it. You know?
Right. Yeah, I think you should be out here on the sidewalk greeting all the everybody driving by.
You know what they need to get after they get Lemmy out there? They need to get Charles Bukowski too on the strip somewhere. They really want to dig down and talk about great talent.
Yeah. Well, I know.
I'm not sure if anybody in this channel will know who Charles Bukowski is.
I do.
I don't want to presume, but if you don't, he's one of the greatest American writers and poets ever. They made the movie Barfly about him with Faye Dunaway and Mickey Rourke, and he's just a great, dirty old man poet.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And drunk.
So now, tell us about the evolution of Circus Power. I know you guys were an East Coast band.
Right.
How did it all come together? Who were your major influences that kind of crystallized the
Well,
band?
I think that we were kind of like a rock band with punk and blues edge. And because we listened to the Gun Club, and who I think were amazing, and the Cramps and all the punk rock bands, but we also loved like old Humble Pie records. Steve Marriott's one of my favorite singers, and Rolling Stones like Sticky Fingers and all that around that area where you just couldn't touch them, Brown Sugar and Bitch and all that stuff. So we and you know Creedence Clearwater, Jefferson Airplane, Steppenwolf and stuff like that. But we weren't really like. I was just talking about a band called Raging Slab. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. But those were our buddies that we played with all the time. Like now we play with Junkyard out here, and those are our buddies out here. And they kind of got us back into playing.
Okay.
But we used to play with Raging Slab and party with them every other night. And I thought they were just an amazing band. I know I should be plugging my band, but I don't mind plugging somebody else that's really underrated and people should listen to. They did a short tour with Motley Crue. But anyways, Raging Slab was this heavy down, big riff band with a country edge.
Yeah.
They were like, people said they were a cross between Skinner and Metallica, and we were along that same school.
Yeah.
You know, we could, like the guys from Metallica liked our band, but we also opened up for the Ramones and opened up for the Dead Boys and did those kind of gigs too.
Yeah. Now, how was the evolution of coming up to a major label, getting the record deal? RCA Records, was it?
Yeah. You know, we got signed when we only had 4 or 5 songs together.
Okay.
And partly because we had a good buzz going on.
Okay.
We had Rick Rubin was interested, a few people. And then we played a show at a transvestite club in New York. Was our first show. The club was called Who Gives a Fuck. I don't know if you can swear on your channel, but that was it. And we played like 3 or 4 shows, and we had 4 of the best songs off the first record, Motor, Call the Wild. Those were the 4 songs we had. So when someone come to see us play, like a A&R person, they were impressed. And if only we would have retained that hunger over the next few years, we might have been someone that to be contended with musically. But as soon as we got signed, we hit the fuck up train. You know, we just weren't together and tight anymore, and as far as friendship, and you know, everyone was getting into drugs and booze and jealousy and women and motorcycle accidents and this and that, and it got it derailed quickly. Too bad. But after Vices, we were kind of done. And the song Vices, one of our best songs, best video for sure, was not like anything any band on this bill plays at all. You know, kind of a blues metal riff that you know. I remember the guys from Danzig when they first heard it thought, oh, that's shit, Al, you know. So we were more like into bands like that, Danzig and that kind of stuff, than we were really. You know, Four Horsemen we loved, The Cult, Zodiac Mind Warp, you know, met all those guys, loved all those guys, but also Johnny Thunders, you know, I was friends with Johnny Thunders, and this is one of my real heroes is Johnny Thunders, who I think maybe single-handedly may have changed the whole music scene.
I saw his last show here at the Whiskey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, I wish I had seen the infamous Dolls show at the Palladium. I hear that was quite the scene back in the day.
I just think, man, like between Johnny and Iggy, that they changed everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there would, you know, and Ramones too, around the same time. But Johnny and Iggy were before that, you know, a couple years before that.
Yeah.
And there was nobody like that. When I'd go to the record store and I'd buy Houses of the Holy, you know, or these, you know, the big rock bands, Sticky Fingers or whatever, and then Iggy's on the cover of Raw Power. I'm like, I want that fucking record. Or the Dolls record is, I want that record, and I want to see what that dude there is all about with the tight pants and the hair that goes up to the sky.
Yeah.
So when I met Thunders, I just thought, you know, no Guns N' Roses without Thunders. You know, no nothing. No our band. No, so many bands.
Yeah.
And it's not. He never made any money, and every time I saw him, I had to pay his bar bill. You know.
Sure.
And his drug bill.
It's like the Stooges. They're way more infamous than they ever were popular back in the early days.
And the Velvet Underground.
Yeah, I mean, they were just completely against the grain. Right. Took people 20 years to catch up with Iggy.
Right, and like, to tell you the truth, I'm not. I love the Stooges, but not a huge fan of the Stooges. I'm a huge fan of New Values, The Idiot, Soldier, all that solo Iggy Pop stuff is actually my favorite.
Oh, sure.
And I told him that when I met him, and he was laughing, because everyone, it's hip to say, you know, when you see an ad in a music magazine, from the hipster ad says Velvet Underground, Iggy and the Stooges, you know, and that kind of stuff. But really, my favorite Lou Reed stuff is the stuff he did after Velvet Underground, the live stuff, Transformer, Walking the Wild Side. That's all the good Lou Reed stuff to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course. Yeah, no, I saw Iggy in Vancouver on the New Values tour. Glenn Matlock on bass, Brian James on drums.
Yeah.
Trying to remember who was playing drums, but
I saw him in Florida. David Bowie was playing piano.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
the infamous tour, Blondie opening.
No, I just saw it. It was just them headlining a small club.
Okay.
I mean, when in Florida, man, if Iggy or the Most came down, it was only a couple hundred
tour.
people.
I was just with Clint Burke the other night.
Yeah.
Telling me about opening for Iggy with Bowie just on piano.
Yeah, maybe that was it. But like I was, you know, that's one of the only shows where I would go to where I would stay sober so I could really watch and dig.
Yeah,
you
you
know,
don't
instead
wanna-
of like going, I'd
you
go to a
don't wanna try
Motorhead
and
show.
remember that one.
I'd go to a Motorhead show and I'd get ripped and I'd put my head into the PA, which is why I can't hear you right now. But
Blame Lemmy.
yeah, well, when I used to go see, you know, Iggy and these guys, the Damned, you know, I would go and I'd watch these guys, these monsters play, these great musicians, man.
Yeah.
A lot of respect for
I
these
know you
guys.
did some work with Daniel Ray. Who else was the producers on the?
Last record we did was Tom Panunzio, who's did like Alice in Chains, worked with U2, sort of Jimmy Iovine's right-hand man, which is a really good job if you can get it. That, you know, that means your wife and his wife will be taking the kids to softball games in Malibu, and you're going to be making a lot of money. Tom's a great guy, Tom Panunzio, and I don't know where he is now, but I ran into him a few years ago. But yeah, man, I mean, if the stars came into the proper formation and everything, I'd love to work with this guy Chris Goss. I don't know if you know who that is.
Sure, absolutely.
He did Masters
of Reality.
Yeah, and Queens of Stone Age, man.
I was out in the desert a couple days ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he had that whole scene going out there with
Yeah.
Queens and everybody.
Yeah.
Now, all that you've seen, obviously you talk about kind of what derailed your band originally, but what advice do you have to young creative people, especially if you're in a group situation, because it is kind of being married to 3 or 4 people?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, for one thing, I don't think things are as druggy and as alcohol-y as they were back then. You know, and a lot of people didn't make it through that time. A lot of my friends, you know. I can't see, you know, I wouldn't have lived my life any different, man, and I've almost died. God,
As far as
30, 40
focusing on the
times.
songwriting rather than the image, and, I mean, what's important?
Well, you got to live it. You got to live it,
You have to live
or people see through it. And I think the problem with rock and roll bands now is they don't have any originality, and they don't have great hooks and songs. And listen to the first Motorhead record. Every song's got a hook in it. It might be metal, and it might be badass, tough, loud, fast music, but it's all hooky. You know, the Sex Pistols record is filled with hooks. You got to have songs. And you know, as far as advice to musicians nowadays, I would buy all these records I just talked about and sit in your room. And don't take my advice here, but I'd get really high and way too stoned, and I'd get some mushrooms and listen to those records.
Yeah,
And then I'd go out in the street naked and run around and get arrested. It feels what it's like to spend a night in jail and all that shit. Everything's too safe now.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Well,
All the things your parents don't want you to do by Alex Mitchell.
Exactly. Reminds me of Nick
If you want to
Oliveri
make good records,
getting naked on stage with the Queen.
Nick came to our show. Nick's a friend of mine. Nick came to our show at the Whiskey a few weeks ago, and I was trying to bribe him into playing guitar with us because I'm a huge fan of his, man. And I think when Queens of the Stone Age had Nick is when they were this band. It was just like, get out of my way, man.
Right.
Those first 3 records up until the Red record were just like go with the flow. I just watched that video like an hour ago, and they were just like, get out of our way. We're plowing through everything. They were amazing. And Josh, I think, is super creative, super talented guy.
Yeah. Well, you pulled Iggy back for one more go-round.
Yeah, man, which I didn't expect. I heard that Iggy was kind of retired.
Yeah.
And then the greatest thing about that project, and I saw them on late night TV, is that those 2 guys kept that a secret from the entire world. No one knew about that record coming out, which I don't see how anyone could do. Because if I'm doing a record with Josh or Iggy, I have 1 drink, and everyone on the planet's gonna know. Or even if I don't have any drinks at all, I'm so excited. Like, I think it's cool those guys got to work with each other.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Alex, always a pleasure. Circus of Power, Irvine Meadows for the final go-round at that venue.
Yeah, thanks, man.
They're going to tear it down, man. Thanks so much for coming out.
We will kill it.